It's insulation day. Welcome to From Scratch Ranch.
So a little trick. See, the problem is I can't get my forks under here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna attach this ratchet strap in through the pallet here. Take it around and through, like so. Just kind of loop it on itself. Okay, I'm gonna take the other end of it here, attach it to the bucket. I'm just gonna go in reverse. Pull the pallet back. Well, I bought 3 pallets of insulation that we're going to install. Now, I've got 3 different types of insulation, so different R values, so R13, R19, and R30. The R stands for resistance or thermal resistance. That's the heat transfer that we're trying to limit. So the higher the R value or higher the thermal resistance, the less heat transfer you're gonna get through the wall. So we'll start with the R30, the highest R value I've got here. That's this big roll right here. This is unfaced also. That means there's no paper on the back of it. Or this other, the R13 and R19, do have a paper back to staple into the studs. This one, and also acts as a little bit of a moisture barrier. But the R30 unfaced, this is for the attic. So once we put the drywall up into the ceiling up there, up on the rafters, then I'll slide the unfaced fiberglass insulation on top of the drywall there and let it just sit up there loose. And that's really, really thick. It's got the highest thermal value of an R30. So then I've got the R19 here. This R19, this is typically used for a 2x6 wall, which is typically the exterior walls of the building. That's where you're going to want the most thermal resistance. So I've got the R19 here. And then I've got the R13. This is for 2x4 wall construction. So mostly the interior walls, which you don't necessarily need to insulate, but we're going to do that for not only the heat transfer, but also for sound. This is a small place. It's tall. It's a lot of metal, concrete, a lot of echo. So we're going to put the R13 in all the interior walls just to cut down on the noise, especially around the bathroom space over here and the hallway there. And then I've got all of these exterior walls that are facing the barn side. That's all 2x4 construction except for the high wall. That's 2x6, and I'll insulate that real well with the R19. But the rest of this is all going to be R13. So I've got 30 rolls of the R13. So I've got 20 rolls of the R19 for the exterior walls, 30 rolls of the R13 for all the interior walls, and then 20 rolls of the R30 for all of the attic space above. So I mentioned that the R19 is for 2x6 wall construction, and if you remember, I have constructed most of this, all of this, the exterior walls in 2x4s. And the reason I did that is I wanted to have exposed posts, so that way we can stain them and have at least a post and beam construction look inside the living space. So because of that, I needed to go a 2x4 here, so I have enough space here to have this post exposed that I can stain after the 1/2-inch drywall goes on. So with that 2x4, that doesn't really give me enough space for the R19 to go in a typical scenario. But with these girts here, these girts are 2x4 also. So in that space there only is where I'll have not enough space for that R19, so it'll compress a little bit there. But I've got this gap here that goes all the way back to the metal. That's plenty of space for that to fluff out and get the full R value out of that R19. So that's why I went ahead and just got R19 for all of the exterior walls, because I do have enough space there to fit that in that cavity. Also, because I've got this thin, I think it's maybe an R3 value of this outside wrap underneath the metal here. So with that, we'll get the full thermal resistance value of that R19 plus this wrap here. So when installing the insulation, we have 3 different tools we can use. There's the staple gun, just a manual staple gun. Pull that trigger, it's going to wear your hand out. It's going to be tiring, and you're going to get cramps in your hand. Then you've got this type of stapler, which you just hit it like a hammer, and it will throw some staples in there fairly quickly, so a little bit easier than this one. But this right here, pneumatic stapler, not very expensive. This is made by Arrow. I think it was only like 50 bucks at the most. I'll put a link down below in the description so for Amazon where you can pick this up. If you're going to be doing a lot of insulation, I would recommend getting a pneumatic stapler, especially if you already have an air compressor and hose, because this makes life a lot easier. Just being able to throw staples in very, very quickly, and it's not very expensive. This was not a very expensive tool at all. But this will make quick work out of any insulation and other projects that you might have that require a stapler. I'm just going to measure from top to bottom on what that measurement is, and then transfer that down onto the ground. Just draw a line and some chalk, and that way I can unroll the insulation on the ground, cut it with a straight edge, and then put it up. And just assembly line like style, just cut, and put up, tack, 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 tack. And this should go pretty quick, especially when Kristen and Makayla get here and we can set up kind of an assembly line where one person's cutting, one person's putting it up, and one person's stapling. All right, we got 93 inches. 93 inches on the ground here. Just mark it with some chalk. 93 right there. Just like that. And then I'm just going to put that board over that straight edge, so at least I've got that line here so I know where to measure to, and then I'm going to use this board to cut on. Got a full piece cut. Well, we got our first roll of R19 up on the wall. And as you can see here, it took up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wall cavities. And this is an 8-foot wall, a standard 8-foot wall. So one roll of R19 will fill 5 standard 8-foot cavities on 16 on center. You sleeping on the job?
Yeah. Okay. Did you tell them what we're gonna do?
I didn't say anything.
Well,
What are we gonna do?
we're gonna make a giant tower out of insulation.
I feel it exploding. Tell by a thread right here. It's gonna go poof.
I think I'm gonna need a ladder.
Yeah. Whoops. All right, you gonna be able to do that?
Yeah, totally.
That's using your head. All right, kids, don't try this at home. She's an expert.
Yeah, I think it's still though. So, we have a job to do before we start putting insulation in. This is open back here. And there's just a base plate and the metal on the other side. So it could cause drafts and get little mice and critters inside here, and we don't want that. So we're gonna seal it up with some great stuff. But before we can do that, we're going to have to vacuum out all the construction crud behind there. So let's get to it.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
So, right up there, there's light coming through because they had to cut a hole through the metal up there to put in the insert where the light fixture is going to go, which is right there. We're going to use some great stuff
Ready?
to seal that up.
I've been vacuuming up all the dead bugs and critters that I've been able to get in before I seal. There's clover growing up.
Our first homestead garden. It's coming up through the cracks in the foundation.
And like the white.
Oh, there's no seal.
Okay, then just get it right here where like this crack is.
Okay, just go in that groove.
Yeah.
And I pull this thing?
Yeah. Now you gotta get all in the way in the corner. Yeah, just like that. And then just move backwards from the stud. And then just keep doing that.
You bossing her around again?
Yeah.
She's not bossy. She is aggressively helpful.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty good.
Put one up here too. See how this is pushed out a little bit? Yeah. So go, every 18 inches or so, foot and a half. This is teamwork right here.
I
Got
can't.
Makayla down there cutting and measuring and cutting and trimming. Kristen's stapling. Ooh, it is pretty high up.
What are the measurements?
42 inches.
42 inches. What's the next one?
43 and a half.
42 and 43 and a half.
Go ahead, cut a 43.
insulation day.
Oh.